What's up, guys? My name's Tyler Milbert, here with big boy Kyler Evans, and this is Inside the Mind of an Athlete. All right, first off, how you been?
Dude, I have been nonstop just going.
Good,
With school, work, and everything, it's been pretty crazy out here. But we're doing good.
good.
We're training a new position. If
Yes,
you
I've heard.
if you didn't hear about that, so
Yeah,
it's been fun on the court to get back into my early days of high school volleyball.
right.
So yeah,
Good,
it's been fun though.
good. I always wear my hats backwards, but I'm repping you, repping the
Yeah,
school. But
attaboy.
like, if I put it on this way, that's it. So I thought about starting it like that, and I was like, I can't do that. So, but repping it. I'm
Looks
repping
good.
number 18, the Kyler Evans. And then obviously I'm still trying to make it out to one of your games. So, but obviously life happens. It's busy. I got two boys here.
Yes.
I got a
Oh
wife. I
yeah.
got work. I coach. So I mean, I'm still trying. And me and your folks have talked. And if I've, they're like, hey, if he makes it to the championship, we're there. So,
Say hopefully it'll just be that one flight, and it'll just be it won't even be to Virginia.
right,
So
right. But I do want to visit the campus because it looks beautiful. So, um,
it's pretty beautiful up here.
heck yeah. So, yeah, we're going to talk about a few things, basically, um, just college life in general, and just different things that happen in your life, just as a kid growing up, going from high school to college, and now your junior year. So, um, let's talk about how, because last time we spoke here, you you committed to Southern Virginia, where you're currently at.
Hmm.
So talk about your freshman year there and the ups and the downs, the highs and lows, the happiness, the sadness. Let's talk about just your whole freshman year, top to bottom.
Yeah. So obviously, I was kind of deciding. It was a very late decision to come to SVU. Like within 2 weeks of school starting, I
Right,
had made up my mind. Yeah, I was very indecisive whether I was going to be playing college ball or not. And so 2 weeks towards the start of school starting, I ended up texting the assistant coach and was asking him if they were still looking for a right side. And he was like, dude, we'll always take you. He's
right,
like, we've been looking at you for a while now. That was actually one of the first camps that I had ever been to that was connected with a college was a rush volleyball camp that SVU had been hosting. And so they ended up taking me, and the start was, the start wasn't bad. Obviously, new things, there's the ups and downs. You come into something new, you're not going to be as good as you think you are.
right,
And so, even with our high school, it did help with our high school running a faster offense. But the offense that we try to run is insanely fast.
yeah,
And so, you know, trying to adapt to that and just get used to everybody, it's a brand new setter, new teammates, was definitely really hard for me to do. I came into the season my freshman year thinking I was a lot more mature when it came to volleyball and giving up position or giving up playing time, and just being an overall better teammate. I wasn't as matured in that area of my life.
right,
And so a lot of the lows were like me getting pulled out and me being like, Tom, why am I getting pulled out? I'm playing great. And he was just like, well, like it's a time where we also give somebody else a chance to step up and play their part and their role in the team. I'd say the ups, so the fall semester my freshman year, I lived with three other freshmen, one of them being Tate Bluth. Shout out to that kid. Love that kid.
shout out to you.
Um, love Tate. And then the other two was our Brazilian middle, Cristo, and our outside hitter, who is now an All American, Christian Schaefer. And I think having your teammates as roommates can go either really, really good or really, really
Right,
bad. And I think because we all were in the same boat of this is all new, it's all frustrating at some point, but like we all want to work hard and push through. it made it so much easier to get through some of those rough practices, right?
Right.
If I had a really bad day or if something was on my mind, I could go back to our dorm and just like throw it all out. And sometimes they'd agree with me. Sometimes they'd be like, yeah, like, I think that you could have done this better. And so a lot of the talks that we had at night were definitely really good.
Right.
However, a downside to living with your teammates are when they're late to weights. You are technically responsible
Yeah.
because, you got to be able to get them out of bed.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and I mean, when you got guys playing video games at 5 in the morning, I won't say who, but when you got guys playing video games at 5 in the morning, it's kind of hard to sleep and you just want to smack them upside the
Right.
head, but you love them too much.
Yeah, I
So.
gotcha.
And then spring semester had come around, and that was when season had started, and I was shocked that I was starting the first game. He's on his mission right now, but Chip Baldwin, he was the opposite hitter at the time, and he was a good player. He's a good player. I was definitely, obviously, I have my height advantage over him. That dude can rip a serve. Like when he gets it in and he rips it, it's super fast. And so I was shocked when they had set the lineup. We were at Penn State Altoona, and they're like, "All right, Kyler, you're in at the Oppo," and I was shocked. And I didn't play my best, but I also think it was just nerves. I'm playing with an All-American from Argentina. I have an All-American setter out of Utah, and so it was just a different environment. There was a lot of stress of I really want to perform and I really want to play with these guys, and so that kind of took a toll on me. And as the season advanced, it was a little bit weird. I had come from a position of, I was the team captain, I was the leader, I was the example setter, to now you're the underclassman again. And so, like, there were certain times where I just wanted to say something to the team, but I knew that it wasn't my job to say it, and so I had to hold back. But I feel like we did a good job of setting a good culture, especially for the younger classmen. We've tried to carry that on throughout the years and, carry that work ethic over and over and over from each year.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, we ended up losing in the first round, which was unfortunate. But it definitely has taught me a lot of lessons about, new comings and new opportunities. And I feel like my maturity when it comes to volleyball has definitely been increased and improved.
Right. Yeah, and I love that you say that. Like when you got there, it was like an eye opener because now you're not the guy. Everyone on your team is the guy. And when I just talked to Trent Moser, it was the same thing. It's shoot, now I'm at BYU. My entire life I was that guy, and now that guy is all around me and every one of my teammates, and that's a great thing. It's not a bad thing, but it's definitely an eye opener. So it's cool to hear it from your perspective as well, and kind of that you also saw it early, and kind of you're like, all right, I'll kind of take a step back. I'll see how these other guys, these upperclassmen, handle it because they were also an underclassman, like when they went there. So going through the system and going through the school, obviously you'll learn something along the way. So
I definitely tried to have that mindset of like, even though it's Division III, like it's still NCAA.
Right.
And from all the kids that I had talked to prior to going there, they're like, we compete for a national championship almost every year. Like this is not like, yeah, we're Division III, but they're like, we don't care. Like that's just a label that's put on the school because of the population and where we sit at. They're like, but we're like, you come, you're going to work your butt off and you better be ready to get going. So I definitely tried to kind of throw that, out the door of, oh my gosh, like it's Division III. And I was like, no, like let's kill this Division III volleyball. Let's go out there and let's win.
Yeah.
So
I understand there's divisions and there's different looks on, oh, you're Division III, oh, you're just Division II, oh, you're JUCO, oh, cool, you're D1. Like, but it's all what fits you best. Like, people know you could be a D1 ball player. There's no denying that. Southern Virginia Virginia fits you well though. You know what I mean? And you dominate there. So who cares that it's D3? You're playing at a high level of volleyball and in college. You know, most people after high school fizzle out. Um, I love Tate to death. I know everyone does. Tate's a great kid, but that's just one example.
Yeah.
The college life shows like it's a lot. It's not just playing. It's not You're not in high school anymore playing volleyball after school. You still got to do all this stuff for school, which hence student athlete. Um, but yeah, you got to bust your butt from academics and then go to the gym and do all your stuff there. Um, and it's not for everyone. So saying when people say, "Oh, it's just D3," it's not. You're still an incredible you yourself and these D players around still incredible athletes. It's just what fits who better. So um, I love that you said like the D3 stuff, but like who cares? Let's get going.
Yeah.
But that's how it should be. It's no, we're still a volleyball team and a great volleyball team, a great program, and like you said, you're competing for a national championship every year. You have all Americans on your team. So yeah, when people say, "Oh, it's just D3," it's like then go ahead and play
Yeah.
and see how D3 it is.
Yeah, it's actually really funny because we've had some recruits come in, and we've had some recruits come out of the top 6A schools in the country, and they kind of come out and they're like, "Oh yeah, like this is just Division 3, like I'm that guy," and then we start to play with them, and they just like are in
Yeah.
shock, and they're like, "What in the world?"
Yep.
And it's like, yeah, it's like, I mean, I just remember the first time I saw that NCAA stamp on the floor, like it gave me butterflies because
Right.
I was like, this is legit. It's not, it's not something where I should just throw out the window and kind of like fly my way through school and do all this mediocre crap. It was like, it's a legit school. It's a legit division. I
Yeah.
almost think it's kind of like undercover fighting. Like nobody really knows about it, but once you do and you start watching it, it's like, wow, I didn't know that this was a thing. So
Right. Yeah. No, it's definitely real. It's definitely exciting. So hats off to you for just competing, going, believing in yourself, and just wanting it. So, um, but I also want to talk about legit just life. Um, your freshman year, you go to college, you meet a girl, you have a girlfriend now. What happens? Life happens, obviously, but talk about you don't have to go into details, but just talk about I guess your mental of going through a breakup and then kind of just wanting to keep go back to school and keep pursuing your academic and volleyball career.
yeah, so I had actually gotten to school and I didn't want to date in high school because I just feel like people don't necessarily have their life set up as well. And, you date somebody in high school, you get too attached, and then they move across the country for college. And so I felt like it was almost a waste. But, I went on a lot of group dates, went on a lot of dates with my friends, and just had a fun time. And so I came out to school and I had told myself, I said, okay, it's freshman year. Like, you got to be locked in 24/7. You're not going to be late one time. You're
Right.
not going to miss weights. Like, even if you're sick, you're going to show up with a mask on because COVID was still a big thing at the time. You're
Yeah.
going to show up with a mask on. And even if you're sick, you're going to sit in that weight room until your team is done and ready to go, and then you'll leave. And so I told myself, you're too busy. You're too busy. You're too busy. And then I met this girl, and I started to realize that when it comes to relationships and life, the biggest thing that you can do to form a good relationship with somebody that you really care about is make the time.
Right.
I thought, oh my gosh, with school and volleyball and work in the athletic events, there's no way I'm going to have time to give my attention to somebody else and feel satisfied, because you're not going to be my girlfriend and I'm just going to hang out with you for 10 minutes out of the day and
Right.
then call it good. And so it was good for me to finally understand how to manage my time as well as include somebody else as a part of my life. So we had dated for just under a year, and our differences in personality were super far apart. We were at the point where we had started the relationship and we had changed for each other, so we were at the same level. And then as time goes by, you start to realize how different you are, and your personalities kind of fluctuate. And so I had started to do a lot of like self-realization that I wasn't the person who I had normally been
Yeah.
because of the differences that we had. And so we had many conversations about how like marriage wasn't in our future, and we didn't think that it was going to last very long. So we decided that at the end of my sophomore year, over the summer, she was going to stay here and work. I was going to go back home and work. That we were going to split up.
Yeah.
So we knew that it was coming in the future, and I just remember there was one night where we had a really rough day, and I didn't treat her the greatest, and she didn't treat me the greatest, and we were kind of bickering back and forth all day long. And I finally realized that I was just holding on to what I had, and it needed to be let go, right?
Yeah.
So we had talked about it, and I had done this at what I thought was the absolute worst time ever, dude.
Oh gosh.
Literally, this is on, was it a Friday night? I want to say it was a Friday night, because the next day we played Juniata, which was ranked number 1 in the nation at the time.
Jeez.
So I'm like, crap, like this is bad. So we had the conversation about how we were coming to the terms that we were going to split, and I thought it was time. And so she was like, obviously I'm not going to hold on if that's what you want. The conversation goes through, and I was miserable that night. And so I ended up calling my old seminary teacher that was actually the seminary teacher at Castile, and I had lost contact with this guy for like forever.
Right.
But he answered the phone.
Oof.
Right. And I think that was a blessing from God that he answered the phone, because
Yeah.
I really needed somebody to talk to.
Yeah.
So he talked to me and ended up falling asleep, I think at like 3 in the morning. Got up at 7:30, getting ready to go. And it was crazy because my teammates immediately knew that something was wrong. I had my headphones in. I was in the van, thoughts are flowing through my mind 1,000 miles an hour, right? I'm like, what went wrong? Like, how do I get out of this slump? What am I going to do? I've got one of the biggest games this year. What am I supposed to do when I'm, sad? And I mean, with it being my first relationship, these feelings are all new and I've never been through them. And I just remember right before the game, we're in the locker room, and I'm like, guys, I need help. I'm like, I need you guys to be the one to pick me up. I've always been the energy provider on the court. So not even just on the court, whether I'm on the court or on the bench, I'm the one to give out that positive energy and keep it flowing. And I was like, it's your guys' turn to step up a little bit because I need help.
Yeah.
And I just remember my teammates being like, hey, I got you. Like, we got your back. And now that I'm saying this, so it was a Friday night, or it was a Friday that we had left, and we played one team, and then Juniata was the next day. So It was a Friday game. Saturday was the next day. And so I go through the game, and it was all right. Emotions start to flow again and whatnot. And I do the same thing essentially. I'm like, guys, like, I just need help. Like, pick me up. Do whatever you guys can. And I kid you not, I played the best volleyball I think I've ever played out here for SVU against Juniata. It was insane. And I think it was because my brain was running so fast that those 3 hours that I had to just focus on volleyball and nothing else, I was just so locked in, right? Because I could finally let go of those emotions. And so finally, I started to pick myself back up, summer ended up coming, and we had finally said our final goodbyes, pretty much like no more talking, and there was some rough times throughout the summer where the loneliness kind of starts set in, and you realize that you guys are at the point where now you're not her person and she's not yours, and so then other dates start to happen and everything. And I remember at the very end of the semester, I had been hanging out with this chick from Oregon, and we had connected automatically.
Yeah.
But obviously, just out of a relationship, I'm like, it's a little too early to just jump the gun and be like, hey, let's do this thing, because I wanted to make sure that I was going to date her out of loving her and not just, I want another person in my life.
Right. Right.
And so she had just actually broken up with her boyfriend. So we were like within 2 weeks of each other of both getting out of a relationship. So we kind of put it aside. And then she came to Arizona over the summer. And that was when I kissed her. And then I went out to Oregon and asked her to be my girlfriend. And so we've known each other for about 6 months. We're going on 4 months of a new relationship. She's absolutely amazing. And the biggest thing that we've done was just set our boundaries. She plays golf for the school.
Okay.
So it's like practice is, priority. Obviously, we're each other's priority in life, but you have to be able to set that boundary of, I have a team and I have a goal. And to reach that goal, I have to sacrifice hanging out with you sometimes. Right. And so that's another way that you can kind of manage the relationships and life. I mean, same with work. This semester I'm missing some practices and my team knows that, but I'm also trying my hardest in the gym. And when we play, I'm as competitive as can be.
Right.
And so you have to find some way to sacrifice some things for others. I mean, school and rent isn't free, but I'm also like, I'm learning a new position. I need as much time in the gym as I can.
Yeah.
And so it's just trying to find a balance. It's all trial and error of what's going to work and what's not going to work to balance your life out with something as crazy and sometimes stupid as school is.
Right.
But it's just all about finding that little balance and what fits you the best. So
yeah. I got you. No, I mean, you went into depth with it, and I love that, and it's cool to me, and I think that's why sports is so important, and I think that's why once I started playing sports, I craved it. I love it. That's why I coach today, and that's why as now my oldest is in sports, and my youngest will grow up in sports, and of course I'm not forcing them. I ask them, like, what do you want to play? They go play it. The thing I want out of it for my boys personally is I want them to have a team to fall back on, like you had. Like, hey, I'm not in the right mindset. I need help. If you guys can do this for me, like, I'll show up for you. And I think that's huge just in life. Is like I mean, there's so many negatives to people that are lonely, and I feel like if a lot of people kind of gave sports a look and not just like, yeah, I'm not interested. Like, it's more than just going out and playing. It's the family you kind of gather around. So it's cool that they picked you up, and even you opening your mouth and being like, hey, like, I need you guys right now. That's cool. So that's why I wanted to talk about it and kind of just see, because breakups are hard. I don't care how long you dated, how short you dated. Like, breakups are hard because you're now losing essentially your best friend for however long that relationship was. You're losing them, so it's hard. So
they invited me over a lot too, which was super nice. They had told me after practice, like, dude, if you are feeling down and lonely, they're like, why don't you just come over? Even if we're doing homework, just being present is what, is something so amazing that you can do for a person.
100%. So that's kind of why I wanted to touch up on that, because it's like people go through breakups, and it's kind of like, how did you cope with it, and how did you move on from it? And but breakups happen, and you're more like 99.9% of the time, your first girlfriend won't be your wife. So
yeah,
especially nowadays. So I mean, but it's still hard. Breakups are hard. So I mean, it being your first relationship and breakup, and I just kind of personally wanted to know how you went through it, because you could have shut down and said, you know what, I'm staying here in Arizona. I'm not going back to school. I'm not playing volleyball. I'm done. And you didn't. So I'm proud of you for that. And I think it's big of you for what you did, because it's hard. Breakups are hard. So hats off to you. But
yeah, very, very grateful for my support system. My
100%.
family was always there, phone calls, text messages. daily reminders about how much they loved me. And I mean, best part about a breakup is getting in the gym after and just taking out all that anger and frustration on lifting weights and throwing plates
Yeah.
around. So
There you
that
go.
was all, that was a good
There you go.
benefit of that happening. So
Cool. Well, let's switch back to your new position. Shout out to your new girlfriend. She looks lovely. You do look happy
she's
with her.
awesome.
She looks happy with you. So that's awesome to see. And it's awesome that it's cool that she's in college playing golf. So good for her, good for you. But yeah, so you're now switching from oppo to middle, which people can say, oh, you're 6'8", you can do it. Like, you're big. However,
you've probably been a middle before.
Yeah, right. But you're talking at a high level now. This isn't high school. This is junior high. You're at a high level, a competitive school. What's the biggest change for you? And what's also something you thought would be easy that isn't at the middle position?
So the biggest thing that I think I've had the most issues with is reading blocks, because it's completely different from at the pin where you're focused on one guy.
Right.
I remember when Coach Tom had thrown out the idea to me. He comes up to me and he goes, "Hey, so with McKay leaving, you're our best blocker, and I think that if you're on the right side, you could block the right side. If you're on the left side, you can block the left side. But if you're in the middle," and I was like, "Tom, do you want me to play middle?" And he's like, "I mean, I would love to." And so going from, okay, I have the middle if he's running a shoot and the outside, to, okay, I have the back row, I have the setter if he's live, I've got the front oppo, I've got it's so new and so complex in a way that I almost wish I had played middle a little bit more in high school so that I could, because obviously I didn't know this was going to happen, but it just would have me just a little bit more prepared for it.
Yeah.
As well as the approach. I am so used. I got long legs.
Yeah.
I got heavy arms, so I am so used to getting good distance from the net and using everything I got to hit that ball. Where now it's short, quick, fast arm swings, and so that's been pretty frustrating. I really thought that offense was going to be easy and it was going to be simple. And obviously in dummy terms, volleyball is just hit the net or hit the ball into the court and don't hit it in the net. It's really simple when you try to write it out on paper, but at such a complex level with such a fast offense, it's been a struggle. Recently one of my goals is to be able to turn the ball a little bit better into the one spot on the court. And that comes with making sure I'm behind the setter, making sure I'm the same distance away from him, and I have to be able to drift. So if I'm too far and I drift, now the ball is completely in the wrong spot for me, but it's not the setter's fault. And so I thought middle was going to be a lot easier just because of my knowledge of the game. And it's been a challenge, but I think a lot of progress has been made. And obviously there's still a lot more time before season starts. So I've had we had a senior last year. His name was Steve Rasmussen. He actually is one of our weight training coaches now, and he'll come to practice and help me out. He was a middle. His knowledge of the game is absolutely insane. He's studied so many middles. He studied the Hawaii middle, the UCLA middle. Volleyball has been his life for the longest time. Yeah. So he's been doing his best to help me out with my approach and everything. I know my teammates are always picking me up about, they're throwing it out my way. Like, dude, you haven't played middle since your freshman year and sophomore year of high school. Like, it's going to be rough. It's going to be hard, but you just got to push through it. I have a great middle, a great couple middles who right now are pushing me really hard on the court all the time. And so, it's so new and it's so different, but sometimes I just have to remind myself that, new things kind of suck at the very beginning. Yeah. But as long as I put in the effort and stick with it towards the end, it's going to be a good process to go through.
Right. So obviously you're middle of the court. So when they're passing back row to the setter, how is that? compared to before. You're playing oppo, you can see the entire play playing in front of you. Now you're kind of looking over your shoulders at where the ball is, plus timing up your hits, plus making sure you're off the net enough. So how's that? Just getting dizzy or what?
It's hard, and I will say sometimes I do kind of spin around a little bit too much. I will say one thing that I've really tried to emphasize, and our other middles do this really, really well, is even if it's a bad pass or if it's behind the 10-foot line, make the most out of it and do your best to just block the other team's eyesight as much as possible. We run a fast offense even in the back row, and so if I know it's not coming to me and I see our All-American outside running up behind me and I think it's going to go to him, I will jump in front of Christian to cover the blocker's eyesight. And so it looks like the ball's being set to me. And then I step to the side and they're in the air jumping with me. And Christian will just come flying past my shoulder and just absolutely annihilate the ball.
Nice.
And so even when I know I'm not going to get set, I try my best to pull the other middles. I try my best to be as loud as I can. And obviously, wherever the ball is going, I'm down and under and trying to help cover as much as possible in case they are just swinging away. So, yeah, I mean, it's really funny. I never realized the satisfaction of pulling a hitter because I'm not middle as much. But, I mean, I actually get a little, like, happy and kind of funny about it whenever I pull somebody when the ball is not even near where it was going to be able to come to me. And so, just doing everything that you can to maximize the success for that point for your team.
Right. Gotcha. That's crazy. Yeah, that's funny. I mean, I'm just thinking you're 6'8" and some dude's flying over you. Like, that just shows how athletic he is too. That's wild.
Christian's got hops, man. He's crazy good.
See, that's cool. That's cool. It's cool like you're playing with guys like that. So, but are you
speaking
taught?
Speaking of Christian,
I was gonna say it looked like you just hopped on the chat.
Christian, I'm talking all bad things about you, bud.
Yeah, bad as in good. You a bad man.
Bad man.
Have you learned more, or are you taught more, or are you seeing things differently when it comes to looking at the setter's hands on to try to get a jump start of where you're going to have to go block?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, wherever the pass goes, we have certain plays where I'm supposed to follow a certain, like, angle of the setter. Like he's at the 10-foot line, I'm not going to be at the net causing this weird angle for him to shoot the ball to me. So just, like, being able to read our setters is pretty interesting. It's a lot of trust and faith in those setters. A lot of people who don't think that setting is hard, try playing middle and working with the setter. It's crazy. I mean, there are sometimes where I'll go up and, I mean, they'll give me the ball and I'm like, holy crap, like, you really got that at that angle, at that distance, perfectly into my hitting zone. And I mean, there are plenty of times where I've messed up and I'll ask the setters. I'm like, hey, what happened? Like, was that my fault? Was that you? Did it slip? Was I too far? Was my timing off? And so I've definitely gone from, oh my gosh, that was a bad set, to, okay, like, was it you? Was it me? How do we fix it? Where what do I need to do? What extra reps can I get to just make sure that doesn't happen again?
Gotcha.
And I mean, our setters are great and they're such hard workers. And so it's been really cool to be able to get a better connection than, oh, just set the ball higher next time. It's like, no, you need to keep this distance from me. I'll shoot it to you at close to this angle in line with the pin. So there's just a lot more detail to it. And so it's been really fun to work with my setters a little bit more and just communicate on a better level than you do with a pin hitter.
Right. That's cool. And I like that you guys like talking about it and not set me better. He's like, this is where you're going. And the ball will get there. So that's cool.
In the middle, it's very plain and simple. But like, what went wrong? Whose fault was it? And so it's very easy to just be like, okay, that was my fault.
That's what I did. Next one.
Yeah. So flip side, now you're at the net blocking as a middle. How are you able? Can you get a read on the setter about where he's going, or like how? Like I know that's like I feel like that's the hardest part for middle.
Oh yeah, blocking is
Absolutely insane. I pretty much had to throw all confidence I had in blocking out the window as soon as I became a middle, because I was just like, this is completely different, you know.
That's funny.
Yeah. So
for the most part, it's kind of easy to read where the setter's going.
Obviously, the better the pass, the
Harder it is.
because now you know, if it's a really crappy pass, you go from, okay, they have 3 front row and a back row, to now there's only 2 front row and a back row.
Yeah.
As well as the set's got to be higher, so I have more time to get to that. But we run so many fast plays.
If it's a good pass,
a lot of the time I'm late and just getting touches on the ball.
Yeah.
or they'll shoot it out
To our outside so quick that it's a one-on-one situation, and I just have to be ready to either take it in the dome or take it off the blocker's hands.
Gotcha.
So I mean, we really emphasize that how fast our offense is. You know, we'll have a really rough blocking practice, but we're like, guys, when we play other teams that aren't running this fast offense, like, we're going to be prepared and we're going to be ready.
Right.
So it's okay to struggle and fail right now, because when it comes later on, when we're playing in the championship game, you'll have the patience and the timing down. And so it's all a lot of failure right now and struggle and heartache to then come out with success and a lot of good, big, huge, fun blocks to just watch back and forth.
Yeah. I feel like there's nothing. I mean, as much fun as a kill is, I think blocking could potentially trump that. Like,
especially like their big number one
Yeah.
hitter.
That's
yeah, that's
Icing on the cake, man.
a block going straight down is just it's the greatest.
Yeah.
But well, I wish you nothing but the best of luck with middle. I think middle is one of the funnest positions because you bust your butt the entire 3 rotations you're on, and then you get a nice break. But it's fun, and so I wish you nothing but the best of luck for that. What I do want to know is, what is one of your? I think I know the answer to it just because of games I watched, and I personally liked it, so I assume you did too. But what's your favorite gym you've played in so far?
oh.
I mean, I feel like, are we not including
Our own gym.
Correct. Yeah, your gym is really cool. But
I
I
was
want
gonna
I was traveling to other colleges and gymnasiums. What has been your favorite?
Man,
You're playing some cool gyms, so like
yeah, we have played
In some cool gym. Like my freshman year, we went to George Mason, and their gym was really cool. I liked their gym. That was where the NCAA tournament was held.
Yeah.
This last year.
But the coolest.
Man,
I'll tell you mine.
What do you think?
And I mean, I was talking to Austin Ponzis. We were watching your games, and it was I want to say it was the tournament, and I don't. Who was the number 1 team last year?
Juniata.
Yes, and they had the cool gym with the bricks and the big windows. Is that where you played? It was a big open gym. It might have been small just from the camera angle that I had.
In the background where they
Huge giant windows.
Yeah.
Roanoke.
Their facility is super nice. They have, except I will say, they have 2 of the big ass fans. They're literally called Big Ass Fans.
Oh yeah,
company that builds them.
Yeah.
They have 2 of those, and so if you get a super super high ball, those are really annoying if they're turned on because it could potentially hit the ball.
Makes sense.
But I didn't like their lights because their lights shined from an angle. So if you were hitting on the outside and you looked at the ball, you were looking at straight lights from the side.
Gotcha.
You know what? Okay, I will say my my favorite moment from this last year in the gym was at Juniata.
Oh, okay.
Their gym, a little bit darker lighting, but they have a second level that people can go sit at, and so
That's
their
cool.
student section tries to pack that whole one side,
That's
and so
cool.
it's really cool when you get this student section just yelling at you from one side, and you know when you kind of, I feel like we
got a lot of momentum in that game, so it was almost like it was our gym.
Right.
So I have to say, like,
coolest gym would be Roanoke, but I think the most fun to play in is Juniata, just because there's so much hatred from their student section. And, I mean, you gotta love it when people are against it.
Yeah, that's what makes it fun. I mean, I don't know, as a player, I've never played with the like the balcony, I guess, up top. But this past season when we were at Brophy, for the tournament, I stood up top during one of the games, and I remember it was Finn Kearney. He was jump serving, and the ball literally went above my head. I'm sitting at the second deck, and it goes over. Like I could have grabbed it, and I thought that was the coolest thing. I was like, that's like as a spectator, I was like, it's like puts it into perspective, like how volleyball is played. Like homies throwing it 30, 40 feet in the air, and then he still times it perfectly and smokes it. So it was really cool as a spectator to be up there watching. So that's really cool to have like their student section up there.
yeah,
And yelling and screaming is always fun, but just like I guess in the where they are on the court, because normally they're on just like the sides and the bleachers, but so to have like a track up top is kind of cool. But how is it? Like I know, like you go to Penn State, George Mason, like you go to all these cool schools. Like, is there like one of your favorite campuses that you go to that you visited? It could even be your own because your school.
I honestly think
our school kind of takes it. I mean, our school is literally built on a hill, and it's completely surrounded by trees. And
Right.
so in the summer, it's all just green. And then in the fall, you have so many different colors coming
Yeah.
out. And as soon as winter hits, you get this nice, like,
winter wonderland of just whiteness.
that covers the whole area.
Beautiful.
But it's cool because you're on top of a hill.
Like to get some really cool pictures of the sky looking really pretty, you have that opportunity almost every single day unless it's cloudy.
Right.
I mean, the George
Mason, their
campus is really pretty too. I know Roanoke isn't bad either. I like
Roanoke's. They're a little bit wider when it comes to their campus.
Penn State was pretty cool too.
It was just cold when we went, and so
Yeah.
I remember just like all the trees being dead, and I was kind of like, ooh, like this would look really cool in the summertime when it was green.
Right.
But yeah, I'd have to say that our campus definitely takes the cake.
Heck yeah. So obviously there's been a debate just in the world, what coast is better, West Coast, East Coast. You've now experienced the East Coast, you're going on your third year. So obviously you've seen the colors, you've seen the different seasons compared to out here in Arizona. Do you like the West Coast better, as in just Arizona, not really like California and that ocean, the Bay Area, but just with the seasons out in the East, or do you like it home here, cozy in Arizona?
You know,
I think just because I know that Utah always has a place in my heart since that's where I was born, I'd have to say West Coast. Yeah.
Okay.
Because I can
I could go to Utah and experience the snow and the green
Yeah.
and the mountains without it being humid outside where I just am sweating while it's 20 degrees outside. Like that's the only thing. I don't like humidity a whole lot. So being out here in the summertime, it's really bad. And to come in and put on a brand new shirt and then you already feel sticky, it's like, man, it's not fun.
That's funny.
sometimes.
No, I agree, man. The humidity is awful, and you can, if you, like you said, you can go to Utah, but shoot, you can go just to the Flagstaff area, it's 2.5, 3 hour drive up north, and you're in snow, you're snowboarding, you're skiing, you're seeing pine trees, you're seeing elk everywhere. Like there's so many cool things about Arizona and the West Coast. But the no humidity, I should say, definitely helps it out here. because
The
humidity
hunting
is
is also
garbage.
way different out here than it is in the West Coast.
Yeah.
Like out here, a lot of the guys that I've talked to, it's tree stands and shades that you just sit in all day and hope that a deer comes walking by.
Right.
Where on the West Coast, I like to go and track and visit spots that we've seen some big bucks and watch them run across the mountains.
Yeah.
Because here it's so thick, you can't do those types of things.
Yeah. Yeah. Whew. West Coast wins it.
West Coast wins it.
For you.
Yeah.
But so we talked about you, which is great. We talked about your career so far. We said it 2 more seasons. I want to know where, coming from Castile losing 10 seniors last year, do you have any advice for the guys coming up? That's my first one, and then I'll get to the second one after, so you can just answer that. But before you answer, I also want to say we always been talking about it, and we're feeling this year there's not really that leader, and we kind of talked about you, and then we talked about Dallin, Noah, and then this past season you got Tommy, Kyan. You got true leaders, which proves it because both seasons ended up with some jewelry. So I guess what's your advice to even just becoming a leader, to finding a leader, to respecting a leader, just to these young kids that are coming up right now?
One of the biggest things I think I'd start out with is identifying your role on the team, and being able to accept it, even if it's not something that you want, you know. I mean, I've been put in this position like last year. I really wanted to play back row, and Jayton Hall, he outplayed me in the back row. And so his role was to come in and play defense for me, while then I was supposed to go up and play front row for him. And he served over me too, because he beat me in that aspect. And I came to the acceptance of that, and I helped him push and, you know, work his hardest in those areas when he needed it. If you know your role, that also makes it a lot easier to find out who the leader is.
Right.
I know watching, was it Kyan that had talked about how Tommy would step up to the plate when an opportunity needed to be taken. Yeah. He'd step up and he'd jump the gun and, you know, all right, we need a center. Cool, let's do it. Like, I'm down. Let me learn.
Right.
You just have to have the courage to step out, and it just takes you saying
one little thing to the team that needs to be said. I mean, I remember when I was captain at Castile, there were some times when I first started as a captain that me and some of the other seniors butt heads, because I'd say something, they'd laugh about it, and I'd be like, why is that funny? Like,
right.
I meant that seriously, you know, like, that is something that's supposed to help us, so why are you laughing when I'm trying to help the team out? And then they came to finally understand that when I was saying those things, I was meaning it, and they could see that I wanted victory in the end of our season to be the state championship. And so, I mean, I've seen this with so many other teams. I mean, you look at Tyler at Williamsfield, like, he pushed his team the hardest of his ability. Trent with Gilbert, like, he was always on the court trying to talk somebody up and get them moving. And so if you are willing to reach out and help build up others while also increasing your own skill, that's like the biggest thing that you can do to become a leader, right? The goal of a leader is to help build everybody up, not specific people. And, you know, it's all about doing it together as a team. And so, yeah, I mean, all it takes is just one kid to step up and have the hard work ethic and wanting to set the right example and to set the right team culture, and then fulfilling on it and acting on it.
Yeah. So. Well, thank you for touching on that, because it's something they need. Usually Coach Mind always sends out our reminds, says, you know, go watch who Milbert just talked to and just listen to these points that were made and stuff like that. So it's kind of my little cheat sheet of like, hey, did you listen? Like, this kid, he was here, he did it. He knows what it takes to win. He knows what it takes to play at the next level. Like, and that's why I like doing these things. It's mainly like just it's for the kids that don't have a voice to ask questions. They do, but they don't think they do. And want answers. And if watching a little video like this helps, that's really why I do it. It's great talking to you. It's great talking to other guys. But I want there to be something that someone takes out of it. So that's why, like we touched on ex-girlfriends and relationships, because like I said, there's a lot of people out there that don't think they can ask. They don't think there's answers, but there are. So
Yeah, and I mean, a lot of it, it works for me, but like that's the thing. For some people, it doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen leaders that have
Yelled in my face.
and told me that I was garbage and that I needed to do better. And then I had other leaders that were just like, "Hey, you're doing a good job. Like maybe that next play, like don't make that mistake, And so you just kind of have to find what's gonna fit you. You have to be willing to pull back on certain kids and not call them out because that's what they don't need,
right.
or that's what they do need is for you to hold back. And then you need to realize that other kids need to be yelled at. I mean, I've been roommates with Cristo almost every single year that I've been out here. And one of the main things that he had talked about to our leaders was when he's messing up, he needs to be told that he sucks and that he's not a good volleyball player, because as soon as he gets angry, he plays better.
Yeah.
There was controversy on our team my senior year, and I had to call certain people out, kids not working hard enough in the weight room and kind of slacking and just talking and not focused on the big goal of the state championship. They just wanted to chill and flow through weights without, trying. And that caused some issues, right? We had to have a talk about how if we're going to do this, we need to do it as a team. And I'm not calling you out because I hate you or I dislike you. I'm calling you out because I know that you as a person can do better. And I know you want to do better, but you're in a phase where you're just slacking and you're lacking that motivation. Which it's hard to do. It's hard to call certain people out, and sometimes it backfires in your face, but it's all about learning and, again, finding what's best for you as a leader.
Yeah, I think constructive criticism is needed, and a lot of people just need to kind of understand what it is. It's not yelling at you because I want to yell at you. I'm yelling at you because I know you can do better. I know you're better than that. You know you're better than that. I'm calling you out because you might not know you're slacking, and that's, I think, what a leader is, and that's why I think it's so important for someone to establish that and step forward, because there's a lot of guys kind of that have had leaders, and now I'm talking about Castile, that have had leaders throughout the years that haven't needed to be a leader. Last year we had 10 seniors. This year we had 6, maybe, not even. And it's like, okay, these guys have had leaders their entire high school career so far. So when is it their turn to lead? And I think that's kind of scary. It's like, how do I step up? How do I do this? And without my friends, like they're all friends, but I've never had to talk to this kid like that, and now I might have to. So
like you also got to be able to put in the work.
You can't tell somebody else, hey, like go get extra reps because you need it, and then you never show up on certain things.
Right.
And I actually remember, you know that you're doing a good job when you end up slacking and your team calls you out, right?
Yeah.
I remember there was one time in practice, I was slacking, and John was like, "Yo, Kyler, pick it up."
Yeah.
And I was just kind of like, it like hit me,
and I wasn't even like, I took it in, and I was like, "Oh my gosh!" I was like, "He just called me out."
Yeah.
Just like I told him out, in the weight room
or doing this or school or whatever, and I was like, sending the right message to our team about this is what we want. Let's do it. Let's bust our butt. Let's get there. So
yeah. And that's the thing. It's like, a leader, say what you say, but talk the talk, walk the walk. You can't just talk the talk. So that's facts. Second thing, which I said I'd get to, little brother, sophomore year, like I said, we have 10 guys that left, 10 seniors graduated last year. So we have 10 spots open on varsity. Words of wisdom for Stratton.
Play hard and focus on
yourself. Focus on the skills that you need to. We actually just recently watched a Kobe Bryant video, and he had talked about how he did some like self-meditation and thought, how can I be the best basketball player that I can be? Not that somebody else can be, that I can be, right?
So focus on yourself.
Ask
for advice. Ask for help
from the upperclassmen.
Even if they give you a little bit crap,
move on to the next upperclassman who you think is going to help you. They have good advice, and they've been through the experience of losing a semifinal game, winning a state championship, even if it's through injuries. Like, they have the knowledge and the ability to express those thoughts to you and help you fix your issues. And
stop being so hard on
yourself, because that is the Evans way in our family. We like to be competitive and yell at ourselves. And I like to say that the Evans family is the Evans family's biggest bully. Me, I'm my own biggest bully. And when I get in my head and I start beating myself up, I can just beat the crap out of me and curb stomp myself. Or I can also turn around and, especially with my team's help, like, I can be picked up and I can provide positive energy towards myself. And I mean, I just had a conversation with Stratton last night, and when he texts me about practice or how he's like struggling or how he's not motivated, I'm like, sometimes you got to go on your own and find that motivation, right? Sometimes you have to get beat on the court for you to finally be like, I'm done with this crap. I'm done. Like, I have to work harder.
Right.
And unfortunately with Stratton, he's at a disadvantage because he's not as tall as me.
But because he's not as tall as me and he's freaking shredded,
like, he has the opportunity to jump higher than I do, to hit harder than I do. And he's had so many extra years that he has the benefit of gaining extra knowledge at certain times when I needed that the most. Right? I mean, I started at the 18s level. Like, he started at the 14s level. So he has all the basics are coming at him right now, and it's perfecting the basics. And then it gets to the point where he's going to be crushing the ball and playing smart and, you know, hitting hard, but not hitting too hard and out of control. And so it's a process to go through. And if you can just stick with it and fight that process, you're going to come out on top and where you want to be. But you have to be willing to put the work in. It's not, I'm going to do it tomorrow. It's, I'm going to do it today, now, because I have to.
Right. You hear that, Stratton? He'll hear it. He'll hear it. But, no, that's cool. I like I was talking to Trent. I asked him same thing, like anything for Troy going into his junior year, and yeah, like, I mean, big brothers do big brother things. So, but I mean, everyone wants to see you succeed. So, but it's really important, especially being a big brother. Not that I knew how my brother took it, my little brother took it, but as I grow up, as I'm older, we kind of just have that special bond now that, like, hey, back in the day you did this, or now he does stuff for me. And it's like, it's just cool having a brother bond as you get older. Mm-hmm. Stratton might watch what you said and say, like, screw you kind of thing.
Yeah.
But he goes on, he makes varsity and he just has a heck of a career. It's like, all right, like, remember years ago you did this, like, I got your back now, like, it's my turn. It's like, I'm older now, I can do this stuff. And so it's just cool as your younger brother grows up. But I'm gonna let you go. It's late as crap there.
Oh, trust me, it's not that bad. I was
up till 1:30 taking a test last night. So this is nothing.
Dang, curfew's 10. Lights out.
I'm not out of practice till 10:30.
Oh, dang. Come on, Coach Tom. Get them home. They need
stretchy out there.
Jeez. All right, man. Well, I'm going to end it. Tyler Milbert here with the Kyler Evans. This is Inside the Mind of an Athlete. Dude, great seeing you. Great talking to you. Best of luck this season going forward. I truly hope I get to make it, and I hate only saying it. I always say actions speak louder than words, and I got to be a part of that too. I appreciate you for understanding. I got a family and a life too over here, so but I really do want to come see you play, and I'm proud of you, and I wish you nothing but the best going forward. And I will see you soon.
Yeah, thanks, Coach.
Get-
Wouldn't be here without you.
Get some new AirPods.
I'll
Gotta
Get
be back.
some. Gotta pay rent first. Gotta pay rent.
Christmas gift coming soon. All right. Love you, buddy. Good talking to you. Later.